Welcome to another edition of Islanders Insider. As we come to you from the locker room today, I'm Stephen King. We'll be joined by Islanders head coaches Willis Wilson of men's basketball and Royce Chadwick of women's basketball. We also have a special feature on an Islander men's basketball player that's making a significant transition in his life. We'll tell you about that coming up. Start off with some men's basketball with Coach Willis Wilson. How are you doing, sir?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing really well. Last time I spoke to you, you were just about to head out on the road for the two-game road portion of the Corpus Christi Coastal Challenge. You traveled to St. Louis and Bradley. Now, you played those games and the slate of home tournament games against Mississippi Valley State and Radford all during the time in between our conversations here. Now, there were some peaks and there were some valleys in that four-game stretch. There was no doubt. Let's start at the beginning and what people are calling possibly the signature win in the Willis Wilson era at Islanders basketball, the 62-56 win at St. Louis. Let me ask you, do you agree? Is it a signature win?
Well, it's probably the biggest name that we've beaten over here in 3+ years. And I think the important thing, the significance of it, is St. Louis has had such great success in recent years. I believe they were a Sweet 16 team a year ago.
I think 3 years in a row.
3 years in a row. I know they've only lost 4 or 5 games on their home court in a over a very significant period, 3, 4, 5 seasons. And so to go in there and get a win was huge for a basketball program. It was a great way to begin the tournament.
Now let's break it down a bit. An issue for the team in a couple of the other games has been the start out of the blocks. Against the Billikens, that obviously wasn't the problem, as you were getting scoring from all types of different players along the way and just finding a hot hand early.
Yeah, and that's been a problem over the last few years. We've got to get better with our starts. And that just means being more consistent. We still think that there are times where we can just kind of feel our way through things as opposed to coming out and taking the bull by the horns and really valuing the way we do things. I think that's been as much an issue in this young season as anything. That we've got to develop consistency.
Now, as expected, the Billikens did make a surge in that half because they're, like you said, they're very promising, very strong team on their home court. They came back, ultimately led by 3 at the halftime, built the lead up to 9 in the second half, but then the cameras catched what was, I guess, the play of the day in college basketball that day, and that was John Jordan's dunk over Miles Reynolds. John Jordan, 5'10", goes up. All the cameras caught it. But what was interesting about it, it also seemed to be a bit of a spark because from that point forward, 9 was as much as they led by, and we started creeping our way back up.
Well, it was obviously a tremendous play. You don't see those kind of plays every day in college basketball. I think the fact of the matter is it was just one piece of the momentum change. Mm-hmm. And for our guys, it did invigorate our bench. There's no doubt about that. But I think at that point, we were already a confident basketball team. We had played extremely well in the first half. Our goal was to chip away one possession at a time. They gave John and Allie that, in hindsight, they probably would have chose to play that possession a little bit different. But when it's all said and done, we made significant plays. We made free throws when we needed to. Our execution on both sides of the ball were good. You have to get stops is the bottom line when you're trying to outscore somebody. It boils down to being able to take care of business on the defensive end so that you have the opportunity to cut that margin on the offensive end, and we were able to do just that.
6-point win at St. Louis. It was a special day, there's no doubt. Now, you traveled to Bradley, and it was just one of those nights where the ball would not go in the hole for anybody at some point.
Well, I think that's the way Bradley is. When you go back and look at their stats, they've been consistently a team that has struggled to shoot the basketball. In our particular case, I felt like we played a very good game. We just did not shoot the ball well at all. We didn't shoot the ball well in our shoot-around that day. We didn't shoot the ball well in practice the previous night. When you're on the road, the things that you do well are the things that you have to really embrace and you have to really guard. And I just felt like we were a little bit loose in that particular area, and that's not an area that you can afford to really let your guard down. You've got to take care of business. You've got to keep things tight when you're on the road. And it's one of the criticisms that I have of our team right now is that we've got to grow to become a mature basketball team. The people that we're going to face in the top portion of our league, they've been there, they've done it, they've had some success, and they know what it means to take care of business night in and night out.
Yeah, definitely one that got away. As you came back to Corpus Christi and continued in the Coastal Classic, you took on Mississippi Valley State in your first game at the Bank Center. You led by 5 at the break. As a result of some really good shooting, to be truthful. But I know that in the locker room, you were probably not happy with the fact that you'd given up a lot of offensive boards.
There's no question. That's not a formula for success. You can't just give up offensive boards. The offensive team scores roughly 65% of the time when they get an offensive rebound. Our defense was pretty good. We just did not rebound the ball. We flipped that around in the second half and had a significant rebound margin, and that was the reason why we were able to secure the win and pull away. We're doing a lot of good things, but again, it's the mature things, and maturity is simply consistency.
You know, you picked up the win against Mississippi Valley State. Radford was next. You know, Radford took advantage of a bad combination. What I mean by that is they got hot early, and your starting point guard had a bad wheel.
Well, and there are a couple things that we probably need to say to preface that. The night before against Mississippi Valley State, number one, they're a good basketball team.
Absolutely.
Their record didn't show that, but they showed it the next night with a nice win over North Carolina A&T. John Jordan got hurt, and it was a pretty significant injury when he rolled his ankle in that second half. It's reminiscent of what we went through a year ago about this same time. And so the second day of an injury like that tends to be a little bit worse than when you sprain it in the moment. I think his adrenaline was flowing and he was able to finish out that game, but the next day he just didn't have it in his tank. And so being down our starting point guard, who happens to be our best player, and then the fact that we're out without our backup point guard, who was a starter at the 3 for us a year ago, and Hamid Ali, we were really behind the 8 ball just going into that game. And I thought our guys just played like warriors. We had a group of guys that came off the bench led by Ehab Amin, who just did a tremendous job. But you look out there, and there were times where we had a couple freshmen out there with him and Joe Kilgore and some of our, what I'd call our runt pack out there just creating havoc, and made it a tremendously exciting game and one that was fun for the fans.
Emmanuel Tony, Manny Tony, and TJ Traylor, Ehab Amin. I think those 3 guys kind of were very representative of this energy group that came in off the bench for you in that second half. Got great minutes and really played well. And I mean, I think they've set themselves up for possibly being that group off the bench. I think we saw it last year when Joy Williamson and then when he came off the bench. That was that energy group that came in. I think we might be seeing it with those 3.
Well, we've got to have something like that from our team. The group that started the game, again, it was another slow start, really a dreadful start. And I guess you chalk those kind of things up to experience, but we've got to get better at our starts and become more consistent, especially when you're in a situation with a guy like John Jordan who's hobbled. You got to get more out of your other good players. And I've got to comment on what a warrior Brandon Pye has been, because he's been very, very consistent and doing so many other things besides shoot the ball for us. And he's probably a guy that we've got to figure out a way to get more shots for. But when it's all said and done, the energy from that group of guys, throw Cole Martinez in the mix, some guys that hadn't played the high number of minutes, but really just did a terrific job for us in that group. It was really fun to watch, fun to coach. The one thing that you can't coach from the sideline is effort. Those guys gave us the kind of effort that allowed us to do some things to get back in the game. And I think you're right. I think it gave us a glimpse of the future of what we can get out of that bunch.
There's no doubt. Now, a little rest and rehab will hopefully come in handy on Saturday, December 6th, as you host the Denver Pioneers at the American Bank Center, 1 o'clock start time. What is your early read on the Pioneers? I know they finished 4th last year in the Summit League.
Good basketball team, 3-2, won all 3 games at home. They've struggled a little bit on the road. I hate to say this, but let's hope that continues. But the fact of the matter is they're a very, very well coached team. They run the Princeton offensive system. Joe Scott has been just a fabulous coach, turning that program around and done a really nice job for them. And so we're going to have our hands full. It's a totally different style than what we've seen over the last 3 or 4 games. Very similar to what we saw with Georgetown. The one difference is they're not looking to run and use their athleticism the way Georgetown did, but in terms of the offensive system, be very similar. And so we're going to have to be ready to play a full 40 minutes.
It's going to be an exciting day. Again, Saturday, 1 o'clock, December 6th at the American Bank Center, the Islanders and the Denver Pioneers. Coach, good luck.
Thank you.
Willis Wilson joining us here in the locker room. When we come back, a special feature on one of the Islander men's basketball players, Ehab Amin. That's coming your way right here on Islanders Insider.
The Southland Conference is 4,200 student athletes from 13 member institutions, competing in 17 NCAA Division I sports. We are Southland Strong.
Welcome back to Islanders Insider. This time we have a special feature brought to you by Austin Benitez, focusing on Ehab Amin, an Islander freshman who is in the transition of playing overseas in his homeland of Egypt to now being an Islander.
Among the newcomers to the Islanders men's basketball team is a player who stands out for both his game and his name. Ehab Amin, a native of Egypt, brings a wealth of international experience to the Island University.
Playing with the national team added a lot of experience to my game. Playing with players like 10 years older than me, and playing the Nike Global Challenge was a different experience because people all around Africa, from Nigeria, from Senegal, from all over Africa, playing different styles, but on the same team for the first time meeting them. So it was hard, but it was a nice experience and I enjoyed it.
He's played in so many Olympic tournaments or foreign tournaments or summer games, but it doesn't really make him a freshman because he's played against men for a long time. But when he gets here, he's still a freshman, so he's still going to make some mistakes. But he is a well-experienced freshman, and he's fortunate to have enough upperclassmen with him to help guide him and adjust to our college game and our system.
That international experience, combined with the personality of his teammates, has made the transition to college basketball a little easier for Amin.
I think having 2 senior guards and about 7 juniors on the team, that helped me a lot. And basically, I'm a point guard and a shooting guard. So like a guard spot, having 2 senior guards that I'm going to get after they leave next 2 years, that's a huge responsibility too. And I've learned a lot of things from both John and Hamid as like how I'm transition from like leadership and being vocal and leading the team and all that. I could have not learned it without John and Hamid.
He's been adjusting real well. He's been really listening and, just taking what we say to heart, and you can see it out there, but he keeps his European play, and I like it. I've done it a little bit, and John has helped too, and he takes the best, both of us, that we bring to the table and combines it into his own style.
Now that he's arrived at A&M Corpus Christi, all the Islanders Nation gets to see his game, which brings high energy to the hardwood.
Yeah, it's great. You always know you're never going to question his effort. You might question a couple of decisions he makes, but he's always going to make it up with his effort and how he plays on the defensive end.
I've always been playing that way since I've been 6 years old. I just like all over the place, play energetic. I have fun doing that, and that's how I play.
Well, he was definitely unique. First of all, he was just a really good young man, very polite, great character, good student. Really loved that about him. But when you watched him play, he just made things happen on the floor. Sometimes it was a little bit different than what you expected, but he finds different ways to do different things, and he brings a little bit of that foreign game to our game. But most impressive thing is all he plays with emotion and passion and just loves the game.
For Islanders Insider, I'm Austin Benitez, and we'll be right back.
Hey, you, couch potato. What are you doing at home? This is where the action is. These seats are great. I can even yell at the coach from here. Hey, coach!
Hey, coach. These are great seats.
I know, and it's a great game, too.
I wish I could sit here.
Hey, who's coaching the team?
Be there as your Islander men take on the University of Denver Pioneers, Saturday, December 6th at the American Bank Center. For tickets, call 825-BALL or visit GoIslanders.com. Welcome back to Islanders Insider. At this time, we're going to talk some Islander women's hoops with the head coach of the program, Coach Royce Chadwick. How you doing, Coach?
I'm good, Stephen.
Well, since the last time we talked, 3 games on the road, 1 and 2 on the road for the program. we'll talk about your trip to California in a moment, but it all started off with a trip to Houston as you went up 59 to meet up with the Rice Owls. Well, what was the primary issue that kind of started the slow start for you guys against the Owls that day?
Well, we jumped out and Shea had the first 5 points of the game, and then we didn't score for about 8 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Shea went cold, and Olivia Foudy was having a rough start to the game. And those two girls are our prolific scorers, and when your scorers aren't scoring, you got to find another way to get a basket. Well, it took us about 10 minutes to figure out a way to try to get another field goal, and by that time we were down 6 or 7. But our girls were very resilient. They fought the entire night. We cut it in the second half to a point where I thought we were going to have an opportunity to go ahead, just couldn't quite get over the hump, and that slow start really hurt us.
It did seem like it just came down to the very end there. When I look at the stat sheet, there's one stat that kind of jumps out at me, and I want to get your interpretation of this statistic. Your squad had 6 assists compared to 16 assists for Rice. Give me your interpretation of that stat when you look at it.
Well, you got to do a lot of one-on-one stuff is what we were doing, and we're not real good one-on-one basketball players. You have to get screens. You have to set your teammates up. The more assists you have, the easier the field goals come. If you're not getting assists, that means somebody's having to dribble multiple times to try to make something happen. We have to work on that. We got to get better point guard play. We got to get better penetrating kick from our 2s and 3s, and it's been an issue for us that we're still working on to this day.
There were some challenges, but like you said, it was a 3-point game with just about a minute to go, but unfortunately just couldn't get over the hump.
Well, our girls bounced back, and they fought the entire night. We needed one stop and one basket, and we were unable to get that. Right now, we don't have that go-to person that we know, hey, we're going to get you a basket and that go-to play. And it's because the chemistry's new. We're trying to develop our entire group together, and it's just going to take some time.
Well, after your trip to Houston, it was later in the week. That weekend, you traveled to San Luis Obispo, California. First off, that's a beautiful place to go. I mean, there's some gorgeous scenery. But one of the most beautiful sights, though, had to be the scoreboard after Game 1 of the tournament when you defeated Kent State. It was the first win of the season. You got some great performances. Shea Weaver found her range, hitting 4 threes, ultimately a career-high 25 points. What were the matchups that paid off that night?
Well, the first thing about going to California, you drive from here to San Antonio, you leave at 5 in the morning, you go from San Antonio to Phoenix, you go from Phoenix to LA, you get a bus, you go 200 miles north. We were about 12 hours of travel to try to get there. And it is a beautiful place, but for your players, it's a test of your toughness. We're playing a lot of freshmen. I think Emery Archer hadn't even played in a game, and now she's being thrust in there for 10 or 12 minutes every game. And, it was just I was very proud of their toughness and their resiliency to travel that far, get up, play the game the next day. Kent State is extremely physical. They are a rough and tough team, and we had a little trouble with that early, but we were able to adjust and fight and get the win, and it was a big win for us.
It was a big win. You can't get the second one until you get your first one, and so obviously it had to go over well. Though, but like you said, it is a tough trip. Now you got to go back to back. On top of all your travel, you have a tough opponent the next day in the host Cal Poly in the finals of the tournament. Now, Olivia Foudy showed that she was human as she only got 13 points and 7 boards. Her double-double streak came to an end. But even though the team struggled from the line in the Kent State win, what did they do to solidify that?
Well, I think that it's a mindset. When you step to the line, it's a situation where you got to believe you've got this. And we do some things to try to get free throw rebounds because we're not prolific free throw shooters. So we're working on our mindset. We're working on our confidence that you can step up there and get the job done, and that just comes with an awful lot of repetition.
And we talked about Cal Poly. You started off hot, taking the lead early, but unfortunately they put on a big run, kind of a big run that put things in a hole for you at the half. In the second half, turnovers kind of mounted, leading Cal Poly to really almost getting off twice as many shots as your team did. I think it was 33-17 is the amount of shots getting off. That's just kind of an interesting statistic when you look at it.
Well, if you have 20 turnovers, that's where you miss opportunities. We didn't take care of the basketball the way we should have. I do think that at this point, we have played one home game the entire month of November. We've been to Vegas and back. We've gone to Houston. I mean, we've not been at home, and I think it begins to wear and tear on your bodies after a while. And I thought in that game, the fact that we were back-to-back road games, it began to weigh on our mind, and we had too many turnovers. We didn't execute our offense the way we should. We don't have a senior-laden team, and we didn't have enough seniors to rise to the occasion and say, okay, we're tough enough to win this game at this point. We got to get a lot more seasoned to win a game like that.
You talk about the fact you don't have a lot of seniors, but one thing you did gain was another freshman, as you mentioned her name a few moments ago, Emery Archer. Interesting game, hitting 8 of 10 from the foul line, scoring a team high 12 in only her second game coming off of injury. Let me ask you this about Emery and her performance, leading the team in scoring. Was it a breakout performance for her? Would you consider it a breakout performance?
Well, I think it's a step of a journey of 1,000 miles for the kid. She's, one of the top 100 players in the country at her position, but she's missed 2 months. And she is a very good basketball player. And, the thing you have to notice about our team, where would we be if we had all the pieces that we had in the puzzle? We'd have had Emery for the first game. We would have Shola Adebayo. We'd have Brittany Bomalu, because that's who we had when we set the schedule up. Unfortunately, we didn't get them to the games because of the injuries. But now that Emery is back, she'll get better and better, and she'll build on what she started. And we really need her. We need Emery to play because we're really our depth at the guard position is really down. And so Emery's going to have great opportunities to play as a freshman.
Well, you'll continue your 4-game road swing on Saturday the 6th. Much closer to home, though, as you'll travel down to the Valley to UT Pan American. This Pan American team, by looking back on them, I know pushed the Aggies to a 2-point game early in the season and has already knocked off a Southern Conference team in Houston Baptist already.
Well, they have great guards, and they've got post players that can stretch the floor. Very well coached. Coach Tidwell does a great job with his team. They're going to play tremendous defense, and you're going to have to contain those guards. If we can stay between those guards and the basket, we have an opportunity to win. If they're able to get by us and make us rotate and get mismatches, then we're going to be in trouble. So we're going to have to handle their pressure D, and when they come and jump on us, we have to play together. We have to set good screens, and we got to get 5 people playing offense the right way, and if we do, we'll have a chance for success. But the last piece of it is it's not a long road trip, but it is still a road trip. It's not our gym. We're on the road, and it seems like we've been on the road forever.
Well, it should be a challenging weekend for sure. UT Pan American on tap this Saturday. Coach, good luck to you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Coach Royce Chadwick joining us here in the locker room. Islanders Insider will continue when we bring you up to speed on what's next for Islanders Athletics. Stay with us. More to come. Whether you're on the road or at home, GoIslanders.com is your source for Texas A&M Corpus Christi athletics. From live stats to live video to all the latest news, GoIslanders.com has everything to keep you up to date on all the latest on your favorite Islanders team. Check out Islanders schedules and statistics and learn more about the student athletes at the Island University. Get tickets, Islanders game day gear, and more by clicking your way to GoIslanders.com today. Go Islanders! Welcome back to Islanders Insider. At this time, let's bring you up to speed on what's next for Islanders Athletics. In this first week of December, Islander Athletics are limited to just Saturday games as the Islander men will host the Denver Pioneers at 1 o'clock in the American Bank Center in Corpus Christi, while the Islander women's basketball team will be on the road traveling to Edinburgh, Texas, as they take on the UT Pan American Bronx at 2 o'clock. Once again, we want to thank Willis Wilson, head coach of Islander men's basketball, and Royce Chadwick of Islander women's basketball for joining us here in the locker room. And most importantly, we want to thank you for tuning in. I'm Stephen King. For everyone here at Islanders Insider, we'll see you next week.